Hi, this is Kylie with Fem and Flow. I hope everyone's having a great day. Today, I want to talk about beauty and spirituality because they truly go hand in hand, and beauty is definitely spiritual. Beauty is deeply spiritual. The dark global elite has absolutely stripped the true idea and the true nature of beauty, and like everything else, it was done for a purpose. The fifth dimension is the realm of love. It's the realm of bliss, synchronicities, beauty, and life. We hear some talk about the science of beauty and how it comes down to divine proportions and symmetry. And this is because of the sixth dimension, which is ruled by sacred geometry. This energy of the sixth dimension, that energy then steps down into the fifth dimension, where we have love, bliss, synchronicity, beauty, and life. I mentioned in another episode how outside of this, in the totally free experiences that we archetypally call heaven, our bodies look like the perfect, beautiful specimen. It's because we're totally resonating with all of the higher dimensional energies. We are resonating with sixth dimensional sacred geometry, symmetry, and divine proportions. And we're totally resonating with the fifth dimension, which is the realm of love, beauty, synchronicity, and life. And then, due to the false matrix on Earth that cuts us off from higher dimensional energies, things get distorted. Things get distorted because Earth's false matrix is locked down in a way that forces souls to come in forgetting everything, and souls must enter this realm via a portal. And on Earth, this portal is a woman's womb. And then in other free experiences, this works differently. I won't get into a lot of details, but essentially, if you aren't a new soul, and then you're traveling via your Merkaba light body from experience to experience, which is actually in different realms. Yes, you do essentially enter through a portal, but like I talked about, a portal is essentially just a spot with very high frequency energy. And I talk about in these realms where it's totally free and we're completely, fully resonating and anchoring in all of this higher dimensional energy, then everything's essentially a portal. We just have these portal locations on Earth that are anchoring in this higher dimensional energy because it's been cut off in other places on Earth. And I mentioned it in another episode, but eventually we'll anchor in all of this higher dimensional energy to Earth, and essentially everywhere will be a portal. So yes, we do travel via these portals, but in other experiences that totally resonate with higher dimensional energies, everywhere's a portal, if that makes sense. And then it works differently with brand new souls, but I won't get into that in this episode. But let's move back to Earth for a second. So, like I just said, the woman's womb is a portal essentially that allows a soul to come into this incarnation or into this realm. In the woman's womb, the baby's body is subject to all of the mother's emotions. And we all know by now that emotions all carry a unique frequency or vibration. So these emotions or frequencies cause the physical body to deviate from the pure fifth and sixth dimensions and the pure vibrations of all higher dimensional energy. So without these emotions and the vibrations deviating, new bodies would come out aligned with what we naturally view as perfect, as beautiful, as perfectly proportionate and symmetrical, etc. We are all naturally drawn to the pure beauty of the fifth and sixth dimensions, and this actually is what sets the ideal beauty standard. But then we layer on the dark global elite who do everything they can to control, manipulate, and cut humanity off from higher dimensional energies. They make profit from the fact we are naturally drawn to a certain beauty standard like symmetry and divine proportions. And then the dark global elite have their puppets, which on the front lines of their puppet mastery are celebrities. I've talked about it before, but they're on the front lines here, taking all the backlash and really doing a lot of dirty work of the dark global elite's agenda. But they're truly at the bottom of this dark global elite pyramid. I talked about that before in the episode about how the dark global elite pyramid of control is falling. So these celebrities, they get plastic surgery to fall in line with these ideal beauty standards. Humanity is naturally and subconsciously, even sometimes, just drawn to these ideal beauty standards, and people might not know why, but it goes back to our true nature and how our true nature, when we're fully resonating with all of these higher dimensional energies, we do fall in line with that perfect standard of beauty and perfect symmetry and perfect proportions. And many people aren't aware why they're so drawn to these celebrities or idolize them. And in part, it's tied back to this natural inclination that we have as humans to be drawn to beauty that aligns with the fifth and sixth dimensional energies. That's one level of it. And then another level of this control is that celebrity culture truly strips beauty of its spirituality. True beauty is deeply spiritual. And like I mentioned, it's just natural to us because it's just pure resonance with the fifth and sixth dimensions. It's in pure alignment and pure resonance with these higher dimensional energies. And being in alignment with these higher dimensional energies is our true nature. Celebrities are puppets in the front line of this agenda for manipulation and control by the dark global elite. Think about how celebrities are used to really push consumption and push trends and push what is popular. Celebrities are dressed in whatever companies are trying to sell or whatever aligns with the narrative that the management is trying to push. And it's not only celebrity culture that strips beauty of its spirituality, it's our culture and our society in general. Let's rewind throughout history for a moment and talk about art and artists. So, the first thing I want to talk about with our culture and our society requires us to go back in history for a moment. Throughout history, many artists were sponsored by wealthy patrons, and this was a system called patronage. It was common from the Renaissance through the 19th century, and it played a crucial role in supporting artists and allowed them to pursue their craft without financial worry. Patrons were usually wealthy individuals, families, or institutions, such as the Catholic Church, royalty, aristocrats, or affluent merchants. The Medici family in Florence and the Catholic Church are famous examples of this. Artists often became pets or protégés to their patrons, working under their guidance, protection, and financial support. In return, artists would create works that aligned with the patron's taste, ideals, or political agenda. As a result, many paintings, sculptures, and architectural projects from the period bear the influence of their patron's tastes, desires, and their agenda. This limited the artist's freedom. Art is deeply spiritual, and like other methods, artists can actually be channeling divine guidance or messages without them even realizing it. As divine beings, part of our true divine nature is the ability to use telepathy, and this telepathic center in our brain, our pineal gland, also has the ability to telepathically receive messages via code forms like art or the sacred geometrical shapes and crop circles. So we may not even realize it, but sometimes art can be conveying a telepathic message. Our body needs to be tuned and healthy, essentially, and we need to be connected to higher dimensional energies via our heart in order to absorb these messages. I talk about it in other podcast episodes, but our heart chakra and our third eye chakra directly anchors in God or pure source energy. And I've talked about it before as well, but God or pure source energy is eighth dimensional energy. So, saying this, you've probably heard people say that everyone is psychic and has spiritual gifts. They just don't know how to tap into it. This is true. We all have these spiritual abilities, but some are more attuned to them. This ability to use that part of your brain to understand messages in art and absorb those code forms can also be viewed as a spiritual or divine gift. But like I talk about, this is our true nature, and we just need to relearn it on Earth. And in order to relearn this, we definitely need to be anchoring in and aligning with these higher dimensional energies. It's all tied together. And really, every episode I talk about, it's all tied together. This directly goes back to my podcast episode on the different dimensions and what we can do to anchor in each of those dimensional energies. And then it's also tied to the episodes on the chakras and how we can align them and what they do. It's all tied together. But if you have a deep connection and appreciation for art, you may have the spiritual ability already, or at least the start of it, and then you can really hone in on that and improve your abilities. If you've listened to all of my previous episodes, then you may already know how I feel about the Catholic Church. Dark global elite central right there. The Vatican certainly knows about the spiritual nature of art, and they want to remain in control of the narrative here. Side note, have you noticed all of the pine cone symbolism around the Vatican? Pine cones actually represent the pineal gland, or the third eye, and that's our telepathic center. And another side note, if you've heard of people being able to talk or communicate with pets, they are actually speaking telepathically with them with their telepathic center. We all have this ability. We just need to do the things to make our body healthy so it can regulate energy properly. Then we need to do the things to anchor in higher dimensional energies. And to do that, we need to have aligned and spinning chakras and really make sure our heart chakra is open, because a lot of the things in this earth experience cause us to protect ourselves and close it off. And then we just need to work on honing these skills. We all have this ability. And we're in the perfect time that we're going to start being reunited with all of these abilities and all of this knowledge and become essentially what we would consider superhuman with superpowers. But back to the Catholic Church. So it's absolutely no coincidence that the Catholic Church controlled artists via the patronage. Even now, we no longer have the patronage system, but we are so ruled by capitalism, industry, and the economy that artists, one, they often struggle financially. Two, not many people can afford handmade art. And then three, galleries now provide the market for art. And it's no secret that art is often used now as a way to money launder. So now let's connect this to the CIA and the Cold War. After World War II, the CIA, through a secretive organization called the Congress for Cultural Freedom, or CCF, began funding and promoting abstract expressionism. This movement included artists like Jackson Pollock, Mark Rothko, and Kooning, who became icons of the avant-garde art world. History says the CIA funded this and promoted abstract expressionism as a way to demonstrate American cultural superiority. History says they picked this style of art because it was radical, non-representational, and individualistic, making it the perfect symbol of the democratic values of personal freedom, creativity, and intellectual independence. Unlike the structured government-mandated art of the Soviet Union, abstract expressionism was chaotic, experimental, and unrestrained. So, history says the CIA funded this due to an intense ideological rivalry with the Soviet Union during the Cold War. The CIA secretly funded exhibitions, galleries, and museums that showcased abstract expressionist works through front organizations like the CCF and foundations such as the Fairfield Foundation. These foundations funneled money to support the movement while masking CIA involvement. So, a few things. I talk a lot about how war is all about money laundering. It's the military industrial complex, and it's the main way the dark global elite make their money. To me, it makes more sense that the CIA secretly funded this movement because this abstract art, like Jackson Pollock's paint splatters, were quick to paint and were a quick avenue for money laundering. Think how easy those splatters are. Like, let's just use some common sense here. And it also helped that they could push the artwork that was spiritually void. Spiritually void doesn't have any deeper meaning, doesn't have any of that spiritual telepathic messages. And spiritually void in a way that the artist isn't unknowingly channeling higher guidance to share messages with humanity. And why do they need to share messages that way? Because the dark global elite has hijacked Earth. It's hijacked the fourth dimension, and they control and manipulate humanity. Humanity doesn't even realize their true nature and what it even means to be connected to God or connected to higher dimensional energies. So, yes, it sounds far-fetched, but they absolutely share messages any way they can, and art is one of them because you can convey deep messages and deep meaning through art thanks to our pineal gland and our telepathic center. We really must question everything. So I just caught myself. I was saying they absolutely share messages in any way they can, and art is one way. So I just wanted to go back to this because you might be asking, okay, who is they you are referring to? And I'm talking about basically our angels or our guides who are in the realms that we archetypally call heaven and in the realms that are fully free and fully resonate with higher dimensional energy. They are guiding us here because we literally have blinders on essentially. We come in forgetting everything and we're under all sorts of programming and brainwashing. And to connect to our angels and our guides, we need to be doing these things to have a healthy body and to have our chakras aligned. We need to do these things that allow us to connect to higher dimensional energy because for our guides and our angels to help us all that they can, we do need to be in alignment with that higher dimensional energy. We need to be in alignment and anchoring in energy from higher realms. And that is also what I mean when I talk about how we anchor in God or source energy. Our angels and our guides fully resonate with God and source energy. Our angels and our guides are where we archetypally call heaven. They're fully resonating with God or source energy and all of the higher dimensional energies. And they are working to connect with us. And we need to connect by anchoring in this higher vibrational energy, raising our vibration so we can hear that frequency more clearly, essentially. And they can guide us from above, quote unquote, guide us from above. We know they're not actually above us. They're in another realm via a different frequency band. But essentially, us on Earth, we are the ground crew. We are here on Earth and we are making change whether we know this or not. And this is part of the reason why it's so important to truly work on yourself. Truly do things to raise your own frequency, raise your own vibration. Be in nature. Pray. Meditate. Do all the things to make your body healthy. And do all the things that do allow you to pull in God source energy. and connect to your guide so you can get the best guidance possible. It's hard here. We are not meant to do this all alone with no guidance. So that was a small tangent in case you were asking, okay, hold up, who is they you are referring to? So now we'll get back to what I was talking about before. The dark global elite also strips spirituality from beauty by making handmade, naturally beautiful things so expensive and exclusive to the point only wealthy people can afford them. Like I said though, people naturally want beauty and want to express themselves in this way, so the dark global elite push fast fashion as an affordable option, and this is very bad for the environment. This is also reflected in our architecture. Buildings are so sad and ugly these days due to the economy and affordability. I get it though. Businesses are working with constraints. Yeah, they want beauty, but they need to be sustaining themselves, paying their employees, and making a decent profit. So there's a lot of constraints that they're working with when it comes to the building they're in and the architecture. Think about what ugly surroundings do to our mind and our mood. It can lead to feelings of hopelessness. I don't think many realize how our home, our surroundings, nature, and the materials we use and live in greatly impact us. Or maybe some realize it does impact them, but they don't realize the true extent of it or how it's deeply tied to our spiritual nature. This next part I'm going to read from ChatGPT. The connection between our surroundings and our mindset or our mood is a fascinating area explored by environmental psychology, art therapy, and neuroscience. Studies have shown that spaces enriched with art, beauty, and thoughtful architecture can significantly affect our mental well-being, productivity, and overall mood. First, I'll talk about art's impact on emotions and well-being. Studies suggest that viewing art stimulates the brain's reward center, releasing dopamine, a neurotransmitter linked to pleasure and motivation. This effect is similar to the feeling of being in love or listening to your favorite music. Artwork, particularly in places like hospitals, has been shown to reduce stress, anxiety, and even physical pain in patients, proving the restorative power of art. Now I'll talk about biophilic design and architecture. Biophilia refers to humans' innate tendency to seek connections with nature. Integrating natural elements like light, greenery, and natural materials like limestone or wood into architecture promotes relaxation, reduces stress, and can even improve cognitive performance. Spaces with natural lighting, organic textures, and open layouts foster a sense of calm and grounding, helping occupants to feel more focused and at ease. Now I'll get into the importance of aesthetic surroundings. Beautifully designed spaces don't just appeal to our sense of sight, but also affect our mood and perceptions of ourselves. Research shows that aesthetically pleasing environments can boost self-esteem and even influence social behavior, fostering a sense of community and warmth. For instance, people in architecturally appealing public spaces often feel more connected to their surroundings, increasing social cohesion and satisfaction. Now I'll talk about color psychology and mood. Different colors have been found to evoke different moods and emotions. For example, blue and green tones often associated with nature are calming and help in stress reduction, while warmer colors like yellow and red can stimulate creativity or energy but may also increase stress in some contexts. Now I'll talk about minimalism versus maximalism in interiors. Minimalist spaces often reduce stress as they minimize visual noise and help people focus, while more vibrant maximalist interiors can energize and inspire creativity. Studies suggest that the style we choose for our interiors can mirror our internal states, often making people feel more in control and aligned with their identities when the surroundings resonate with their personal aesthetics. Now I'll talk about overall mental health and spatial design. A study published in Frontiers in Psychology in 2021 found that spaces with restorative characteristics, such as those inspired by art and biophilic design, could improve mood, support emotional recovery, and enhance focus. Such spaces encourage feelings of safety and comfort, reducing symptoms of anxiety and depression. Considering these connections, creating a personalized, beautiful environment can go beyond aesthetics. It's a way to cultivate an atmosphere that nurtures mental clarity, relaxation, and inspiration. Okay, that's the end of what I was reading off of ChatGPT. So now that all of that's been said, think about how beautiful architecture made of natural materials like limestone or marble, thoughtful lighting design that evokes emotion, and beautifully designed interiors with well-made furniture is often extremely expensive and considered a luxury. To know architecture, design, art, etc. is truly a gift, and it takes time and practice to hone those skills. To reach this point where you feel like your home, your surroundings, etc., truly reflect your soul, either takes a lot of time where you personally can dedicate your career or all of your free time to this, or it takes a lot of money to hire these talented artists who can actually truly pull off your vision. I was browsing pictures on the website of this architecture firm that I really tend to be drawn towards. It's called McAlpine House, and I came across the most beautiful poetic writing on their website. And it totally ties into what I'm talking about here. So I'll read it from the website. For many of us, the quest for home carries us through exhaustive search and compromise. Those who are highly attuned rarely succeed in bending the soul of a house they did not build at their will. A heart that is developed craves evidence of itself and the subtleties it has discovered. I dreamed of walking in the beauty and reality of my own mind. I had no place I recognized. This, in a nutshell, is why we build. When we finally find sanctuary in a physical edifice that mirrors our soul, it is ground gained and won, a flag on the moon of the heart. I think that is extremely beautiful, and I feel so drawn to that. That is exactly how I feel, and they put it in such beautiful wording. And that beauty that poetic writing conveys and how it ties into the beauty around you and the home you live in and the architecture around you, this is just totally in alignment with what I'm talking about when I talk about the beauty of the fifth dimension and the sixth dimension. But let's go back to this being portrayed in our reality here. If someone can afford their full vision, many times they'll go with artificial materials that simply don't have the depth and the soul that the true natural materials have. It just doesn't come off the same to someone in tune. Many people also may go with builders or choose homes in their budget that simply don't align or end up coming off as their vision intended. This ultimately doesn't fulfill our soul when it comes to the true, no constraints beauty we are actually used to, or that our soul yearns for. This beauty, this proportion, this symmetry, it's what comes natural to us, and we might not even realize that's what we're yearning for and striving for. Whether we realize it or not, we're not singing our full song or fully expressed in our true essence when we are surrounded by cheap artificial things. All living and natural things on earth have consciousness. Everything non-artificial. All natural things from this planet have a unique frequency and a unique vibration. I've talked about it before how crystals either amplify or absorb energies, and how when we ground or put our bare feet to earth, the earth absorbs our low vibe or negative energy from us, and the earth transmutes it into neutral energy. Earth neutralizes energy and essentially cleanses it. And all natural materials have benefits we may not even be aware of. Artificial materials don't have these God given benefits and are much lower vibrational than natural materials. To truly live in our full expression and aligned with our highest self and being our best self, we truly need to be living in natural materials. Because, like I talked about, everything is vibration. Everything is energy vibrating at different frequencies. And we need to be very high vibrational and living in those high vibration emotions. But our world is becoming more and more artificial. And when this world becomes more and more artificial, it's going to keep strengthening the false matrix of the fourth dimension. And it's going to continue to cut off more and more higher dimensional energies. Well, let me be clear. It doesn't strengthen the false matrix of the fourth dimension, and it doesn't actively cut more and more off, but us living more and more artificially, that's not resonating with higher dimensional energy, so it's not going to be anchoring it in. Remember, to get out of this false matrix that the dark global elite have set up, we need to be actively anchoring in and pulling in higher dimensional energies. That's what breaks this false matrix of control. So, yeah, when we are going more and more artificial, it's not strengthening the false matrix and it's not cutting more off. View that as more stable and neutral, but we need to do things to anchor more higher dimensional energy into this false matrix. Hopefully that makes sense. Remember, everything's frequency. And in all of these energetic dimensions I talk about, they're not separate places. It's all energy just spiraling together, but it's in different frequency bands essentially. So we need to be living a high vibrational life. Our bodies need to be high vibrational. We need to be living in high vibration emotions, and our homes and surroundings need to be natural. So they're in that higher vibrational state as well. And essentially, we're all just vibing together. That's going to be very high vibrational, where we are raising our frequency band to be living open and free and fully aligned with the higher dimensional energies. I've mentioned before that scarcity is not real, and that's just a concept the dark global elite program us with so they can manipulate and control us. This ties into this concept I'm talking about because usually these natural materials are more expensive because they are more scarce. It's the idea of supply and demand and scarcity. We need to question everything and realize there aren't many coincidences. We need to ask the question, if there are all these benefits to natural materials, beautiful architecture, art, stunning interiors, then is there a strategic reason why the quote unquote market leads to all of this being a very expensive luxury? I say yes. The programming and control here is so thought out and extremely strategic. I truly think that scarcity is totally made up. These concepts of markets are all made up. And it's so we don't question it. We think it's just the natural occurrence from the market system. And we say, oh, it makes sense. Scarcity, supply, demand, the market for these resources, it leads to all of these natural items being very expensive and then considered a luxury. But we need to stop believing whatever we're told. We need to question everything and truly understand there's so much spirituality and beauty, and there's so many benefits for these natural materials and beautiful architecture, and feeling like your soul just resonates and is totally aligned with the beautiful interior of your home and your landscaping and the marble on your countertops. These things are not materialistic or shallow. These things have deep soul and deep spiritual meaning. We've just been totally led astray, and our culture and society has completely stripped beauty and all of these beautiful elements of their spirituality. And this true beauty, what I'm talking about when I talk about beauty and spirituality, this is not beauty you just see. I've talked about it before, but when we're truly anchoring in these higher dimensional energies, you feel this beauty on a soul level. It feels like something that deeply resonates with your soul and is in total alignment with depth and soul and love and beauty. And people who really love art, a lot of people get this, and that's why they feel this deep connection to the point they want to dedicate their life to this, even though it might not financially support them. There's just so much depth to this, and I really think everyone should start exploring beauty when it comes to the deep soul and beauty with spirituality. Just start thinking about this in your own daily life and think about why you might be drawn to fashion or architecture or interior design or art. Just start thinking of it all on a deeper, soulful level. That's all I have for now. I hope you liked this content and this episode. And if you did, definitely send it to friends or family that you think would like this and that would resonate with it. And give me 5-star reviews and please subscribe. I love you all. Have a great week.